The new moon in progressive Aquarius on Friday, February 9th, squares Uranus in grounded Taurus, suggesting electric surprises, breakthroughs, and breakdowns connected to money, work, our homes, our resources, and relationships that encourage change and innovation. Let's take a closer look and break it down for all 12 signs. My name is Anastasia. I'm a traditional Western astrologer specializing in natal, relationship, and predictive astrology. If you like my work, please support me by leaving a like or a comment, subscribing, and pressing the notification bell. All of that helps, encourages YouTube algorithm to show my content to more people, helps my channel grow. I appreciate you guys for that. You also have the option of saying thank you by buying me a coffee. Thank you to everyone who has use that option in the past. It's always really, really exciting to see those things come in. Before we dive in, February is the Valentine's Day month, so I call it the month of love. And during February only, you can save $20 on the in-person relationship consultation with me using the coupon code 2020LOVE. Or you can save $40 on the recorded reading. And the recorded reading could be a great option for any of my singles out there, for anyone in relationship who would prefer me to look at your charts and tell you what works, what doesn't work, what could use improvement, how you can better work together, right? Or if you're single, I can take a look at your year coming up, describe some of the important trends, and give you some insights and tips about love. Additionally, if you're someone who is struggling with relationships, I highly recommend checking out my Venus in Libra and Venus in Libra 2 candles. Venus in Libra was created in 2022. It has the scent of a rose that's decorated with a copper foil, and it's perfect for anyone who is born with Venus in weaker positions, like Venus in Aries, Scorpio, or Virgo. Those are considered detriment and fall, and they suggest that accessing the energy of Venus is a little bit harder. For example, if you're born with Venus in Virgo, like yours truly, which is part of the reason why I started creating these, it might be hard for you to just accept yourself or your partner fully because you're so used to, like, you likely were criticized as a kid. So this like voiceover that is constantly worried or struggling to be in the present moment is very strong in you. That's why Venus in Libra or Venus in Libra 2, which is a 2023 creation, and this one has a honeysuckle jasmine scent. Both of these capture the powerful Venus in strong aspects with the moon waxing. It can help you improve relationships and connect with the feminine energy within you. On my website, you can also see some of my other creations. There's also Mars candles. For example, Mars Kazemi is the candle from Mars in Scorpio, which is classically known as one of the more sexual and passionate signs. So this could be a great fit for you. So now that this is out of the way, let's talk about the new moon. The new moon is happening at 20 degrees, 40 minutes of Aquarius on Friday, February 9th at about 5:58 p.m. Eastern Time. It will especially strongly affect you if you have planets between 17 and 24 degrees fixed signs, and those are Aquarius, Leo, Taurus, and Scorpio. So take a look at your chart, see whether you have, it doesn't have to be your sun, moon, or rising. It could be your Mercury, it could be your Venus. And the way to know how the effects might play out in your life is, first of all, by looking at the nature of the planet, right? If you have the full moon squaring, for example, your Mercury, it's a new moon. I keep thinking the full moon because I'm filming this shortly after the full moon. But if it's, if the new moon is squaring your Mercury, for example, perhaps there is an invitation to examine how you communicate. If it's squaring your Venus, there is a chance to upgrade relationships, and that is the first kind of step. And then you could also look at the houses ruled by that planet. For example, if we're still talking about Mercury, you would look at Gemini and Virgo and see what kind of changes might be brewing there. And for Venus, it's Taurus and Libra. And if you ever feel confused about this, you can always book a reading with me. I have shorter readings on my website too, where we can touch base and talk about smaller type of transits. So this new moon is interesting, right? Because it's coming in just a day after the sun had squared Uranus. So it's almost like we had some kind of shakeups. We're in the middle of surprises. We're in the middle of breakthroughs and breakdowns related to that Sun-Uranus square. And then the new moon comes in and it's a fresh energy. It's a problem-solving energy. It's the time when we are ready to make adjustments. We're ready to come up with new ideas. Aquarius is the sign of progress. It's the sign of innovation. It's the sign of community. So the new beginnings in your life can be very much connected to doing work that helps other people, coming up with solutions that are more progressive and allow for better use of resources of your living situation. Because these are the topics, with Uranus being in Taurus, the surprises that Uranus and Taurus bring can relate to your tangible structures in life, to your comfort and security. Taurus is very much about stability. So when Uranus is shaking up Taurian topics in our life, we're dealing with transformations related to food, your diet, resources, your money, shelter related to your living situation, right? An opportunity to move, an opportunity to renovate, something that is unpleasant potentially. We don't like when our comfort and security gets uprooted, right? But if anyone has the power to make the best of it, I think it would be Aquarius. But just be on the lookout for some of the opportunities to innovate things in life. The Sun squaring Uranus energy, like I said, it's exact on the 8th of February, but we start to feel it about 3 days before. We feel it for a few days after, so between February 5th and February 12th, approximately 11th, 12th, we're still feeling this energy. And the Sun square Uranus, right? How does this manifest and how would it affect the new moon? So like I said, some kind of surprises, right? There might be a sense that something in your life has reached its expiration date. There might be a sense that something no longer serves you. So the surprises can come out of inner restlessness and you acting out in seemingly surprising and abrupt ways. Of course, it can also be a sign of somebody in your life acting in that way, right? If you are in a relationship and your partner suddenly says that I want to open up our marriage, right? It's not likely that they're doing it out of the blue. It's likely that things have been maybe feeling frustrated between you two, or you have talked about this in the past, or something has been brewing. So I feel like the square to Uranus can definitely be an eruption of some sort, like a pimple bursting. You're welcome for that visual right now. So you or people in your life feel a strong need for freedom, strong desire to do things in one's own way, right? And that's where the conflicts, that's where the battles, that's where the tensions can be coming through, because if two people want to do things their own way and nobody is willing to compromise, it becomes really difficult to come to an agreement. So watch out for being too stubborn, watch out for getting involved in ego battles and power struggles with other people just because you are not willing to compromise. Watch out for making really rash decisions and changing your look very drastically. Of course, if it's something you've been thinking about getting a full back tattoo for a year now, and we get a new moon in Aquarius and you go and get it, and people are like, oh my God, this is so shocking. Well, you've been thinking about it for a long time. It's not like a brand new decision to shave your head and walk around bald in the middle of the winter. Just beware of like reckless, risk-taking tendencies that are not healthy, and beware of maybe experimenting with technology and putting your fingers in the outlet. It's not the best time, I think, to play with electricity, because Uranus is literally the god of lightning, right? And it can strike you. The best way, the positive way to approach this transit is always to be proactive about change, to not let it catch up with you and cause strife, but instead trying to look at Taurian themes in your life. Look at the Taurus house in your chart. We're going to talk about that. And look at what is outdated there. And look at Taurus topics: finances, beauty, living situation, career, relationships, food, like I said, nutrition, right? Your clothes, what needs to be updated there? What needs to keep up with the times and come closer to being updated. But also you can't go away from the theme of Aquarius, of society, community, work that serves other people, work that improves the world somehow. There's likely to be idealism. We have just had the shift of Pluto in Aquarius. We are exploring a brand new territory. Of course, it's not a completely brand new territory. You may have planets in Aquarius and you get transits in Aquarius, but Pluto is big. Pluto is like slow and completely transforming, life-changing. So a lot of big shifts, a lot of ideological changes, a lot of tangible changes. And I think the confrontation with Taurus is just saying that before you get to this vision of Aquarius, you have to address your food, shelter, resources, home, work, create stable structures in your life, because you cannot go and start a revolution if you don't have a comfortable place to live. So some other things, like I said, the new moon in Aquarius can bring, just to repeat, focus on community, interest in doing work that serves other people, curiosity, intellectual attitude, interest in coming up with brand new ideas, desire to innovate, more awareness of what is not working, either in your life or in society, even in your small community. It could be your family, it could be your house with your neighbors. There is a lot of awareness and clarity of what needs to be changed, I think, and that Uranian square can be very illuminating at this time. And an invitation to connect on some level, I think, because Aquarius has this vibe of an outsider, but a square to Uranus, to me, is calling in a deeper awareness of your body, a deeper awareness of the need for comfort and security. So it's this tension that Aquarius carries within, of being an outsider but always wanting to connect. So you are trying to balance a few of these different things currently. So let's take a look at all 12 rising signs and describe what this means for you. As a reminder, I use rising signs because rising or ascendant is the entrance point into your chart. It determines where the rest of the houses fall, and so it determines where the transits fall, versus your sun could be in any given house, or your moon could be in any given house. But I know some of you listen for sun and moon and resonate with that, so by all means, do what makes you happy, but just keep in mind that it could be more accurate for your ascendant. So if you are an Aries rising, there's a new moon in your 11th house in a square to Uranus in your 2nd house. And the new moon in the 11th is all about new dreams. Pluto has entered your 11th house, and you are exploring your community. You're asking, what is the community? You're asking, what can you do to help the world? What can you improve to help the world in your life? You're maybe feeling more open to connecting with other people, to asking for advice, asking for guidance, finding mentors, learning new things. It's quite a fresh energy, especially fresh when it comes to new people, new social dynamics, venturing on social media, right? Connecting with new people, taking on a role of a leader in the world too. Even if it's, like I mentioned, even if it's in your small local community, even if it's within your family, how can you give back? How can you do work that affects them, empowers them, enlightens them, changes the world for the better? And you start within your friend group, right? Like you may start with making changes within your friendships. There is a square to Uranus in the second house, and second house is your finances and the resources and the things you have available. And so with Uranus being in your second house, there could be, in a square to this new moon, there could be like a sudden financial shift. It could be for the worse, where you leave your job or you lose some kind of payment, or you have to spend money on something that is suddenly affecting the resources you have available. And then the new moon is very much like, perhaps you need to learn to trust other people. Perhaps you need to ask for support, right? So the new beginnings can be very much coming out of that sudden shift in your finances. And the change could be for the better. The Uranus in the second house maybe is the time when you're getting some kind of payment or some type of raise or change in your job situation. Then it lets you have more freedom to pursue your social interests, to connect with new people, and to explore new dreams. But you're definitely, I think, experiencing a bit of tension of like, what is stable and what I see as stability, what will give me a sense of comfort and feeling ready to maybe take a leap, but it might make you feel uncomfortable. It might make you feel uncertain financially, but it will encourage growth and new connection. So tension we're having is between that like idealistic vision you have and the resources you have available. And please let me know how this resonates. How has Pluto been so far? Have you noticed anything exciting? Now, if you are a Taurus rising, there's a new moon in your 10th house and a square to Uranus in your first house. So the new moon in the 10th it's an Aquarius. It's very idealistic. It's very progressive. There might be new professional ideas, new projects, new opportunities to start a business and explore something, add new technology to the way you do business, or start using AI at work, or maybe just overall come up with some kind of exciting new idea that will probably serve the world, whether that means you're doing so in your existing job or you're exploring new professional possibilities. All of that is likely, and also just like birthing or conception of new dreams, new ideals, new possibilities I can see here. Very fresh, very exciting. But the square to Uranus is, of course, suggesting tension. The square to Uranus is a challenge of some sort that comes from your house of personal goals, your physical body, your health, and your well-being on some level. So the square to Uranus could be very literal pregnancy. You get pregnant, or you fall sick, or you get an injury. Let's come up with some happy examples also. Maybe you win a cruise. You win a cruise, right? And then there is something going on in your personal life that is preventing you, or that is creating more challenges on the path towards career fulfillment, right? Like if it is pregnancy or if it is some kind of health matter, you need to adapt. You need to figure out how you can still pursue your professional goals, but do so while attending to your body, while resting, while growing a new life if you're pregnant, or attending to your health. So Uranus in the first is, I think, like an overall need to be flexible. And also Uranus in the first house can create like a sense of rebelliousness and desire to do things your own way, because first house is you and it's most embodied, and Uranus is the planet that's most embodied. So here I feel like restless and ready for new things and excited and impatient, and the new beginnings in the career can sometimes also be coming from the point that you're like, I'm tired of this, I quit. So be more intentional about the changes you're introducing into your life, and try not to make rash decisions and take extreme measures. Try to be patient. And let me know, how has Pluto in your 10th house been? It's pretty fresh. It's pretty new. We haven't even had Pluto in the first house for a month, but Still, pretty exciting. Now, if you are a Gemini rising, there's a new moon in your 9th house and a square to Uranus in the 12th house. So new moon in the 9th will bring new beginnings that involve education, that involve travel, that involve an ideological shift, learning to believe in yourself more, learning to feel comfortable as a teacher. There could be legal matters that you're starting, and there could be writing projects that you're focusing on. The square to Uranus in the 12th house is interesting. Uranus in the 12th house in general, I think, is very challenging, but very healing and growth oriented, because with Uranus in the 12th house, you may be constantly in a position where you're juggling things that are outside of your control. So square to Uranus in the 12th house can be things outside of your control. You had a trip planned and your sibling gets sick and you need to help take care of them. You had a book that you wanted to publish, but there is some kind of legal roadblock that you have to work around. So Uranus in the 12th could bring up some kind of delay, surprise, breakdown, but it can also be a breakthrough. There might be, with Uranus in the 12th, you might be realizing that things that you have experienced as limiting, as controlling, are no longer holding the same power over you. So I think that's, to me, like the most exciting possibility here, because the square to Uranus in the 12th could be very much like, I do not want this to control me. I do not want this to limit me. And then you are opening yourself up to new possibilities. Your ideas of yourself and your place in the world are changing. On the other hand, this could be some kind of like surprise, like I said, a family member maybe needing you, and that's affecting your travel or your writing or your education connected plans, or some kind of like legal delay. If you're waiting for a visa, for example, you have to adjust and you have to be patient. The main kind of goal here is to learn to work within the limitations you have, and to also believe and remember that these frustrations, these delays, these like breakdowns, they do not define you, right? Like they might just be something that is encouraging you to adapt and innovate, and then you can use this knowledge you have gathered to become a teacher, to write that book, to publish your work, and to change the way the world sees you, because your experience becomes your strength. And please let me know how this resonates down below. And if you'd like a reading ever, you can book one on my website, anastasiadoesastrology.com. Now, my beautiful Cancer risings, you are having this new moon in the 8th house and a square to Uranus in the 11th. And this is all about the dreams you have and the resources and the connections and the realistic expectations that you should have about pursuing those dreams, I feel like. So the new moon, first of all, let's talk about the square to Uranus in the 11th. The square to Uranus in the 11th can bring up challenge in a friendship. There could be some kind of falling apart of a friendship, some type of understanding. And then the new moon in the 8th house is suggesting that you are encouraged to come up with different agreements, to figure out what is fair, what is not fair, and maybe implement a different relationship strategy, a different sort of approach to fairness if things have been feeling unfair. Uranus in the 11th can also be suggestive of like new dreams, new exciting possibilities that involve the collective, that involve you influencing other people, connecting with other people, being sort of their light and guide. And the square to Uranus in the 11th the new moon in the 8th with the square to Uranus in the 11th can suggest that, like I said, there is some kind of element of tension between the things that you're dreaming and envisioning and the resources that you have available, the debts that you have, the finances, or even time you have available to pursue those things. So I think the new moon in the 8th is calling you to implement a new financial strategy. It might be suggestive of you asking for help, and the help could come in a shape of a loan. It could come in a shape of like asking a friend to stay with them, or asking a family member for some kind of small loan, or figuring out better ways to handle agreements, maybe even rewriting some contracts, having some important conversations. So very much, like I said, in response to these new dreams, new insights, new passion projects, the new moon in the 8th house is saying like, okay, but first let's make sure that you have your resources organized, and you also have people that can be a source of support for you. And please let me know how this resonates down below. Now, if you are the royal and beautiful Leo rising, there's a new moon in your 7th house and a square to Uranus in the 10th. What kind of new beginnings need to happen in your relationship in response to change in your professional life? So Uranus will be squaring this new moon, and it is very much pinning your professional life. There might be some surprises there. There might be a desire for new beginnings. There might be a breakthrough of some sort, a new job, a chance to move for work. Even a sense that you feel tired of the work you're at, and sort of some kind of like quick, don't be reckless, but there might be like a quick sort of restless, impatient attitude where you just say like, okay, I've had enough, I'm out. And then the new moon in the 7th is saying that this transformation is bringing in new beginnings in your love life. Now, if you're single, maybe the fact that there is some kind of breakthrough and you're getting a chance to move to Paris for work, maybe that suggests that you will experience new beginnings with a Parisian, and you will start dating someone foreign. If you are in a relationship and you decide to quit your job, or you get an exciting job opportunity, this will encourage a new way of doing things in your relationship. For example, trying long distance, or committing so that you can move together, or something like that. The square to Uranus in the 10th, we think of the 10th as career, but it could also have to do with your goals, with your dreams. Maybe they somehow contradict the dreams of your partner, or you experience just like an overall sense of clarity of what you want, and realize that your relationships need to transform, whether that means you need to clear the path for new relationships, or it means that you need to explore and do things differently in the current relationship. There might be a chance to start a business partnership, or perhaps release a business partnership if the breakthroughs at work encourage solo proprietorship and solo opportunities. Sometimes this could also suggest that your partner's life needs to transform in response to the changes that you're going through. Please let me know how this resonates if you are a Leo rising. Now, if you are a Virgo rising, there's a new moon in your 6th house and a square to Uranus in the 9th house. So the square to Uranus in the 9th can bring surprises, breakdowns, and breakthroughs connected to education, travel, writing, publishing, legal matters that then in turn affect your work life. And this could be positive, right? There might be like a book deal you're getting that lets you quit your day job and focus on pursuing the passion. This could be maybe more challenging. The square to Uranus can suggest some kind of logistics, some type of like legal matters that are affecting your progress, some type of like surprising fee or surprising document that you need to sign that is making things a little bit more complicated for you. It can also be suggestive of like a breakthrough in your thinking and new ideas, and then that is bringing in new beginnings into your work life. In general, the new moon in the 6th house, I think, is calling you to take stock of everything you fill your day with, and to all of the commitments you have, and to everything you dedicate your attention to, and figure out a way to better balance your dreams, which I think are represented by Uranus in the 9th house, and like overall desire. Overall desire to find more freedom, to become a writer, to become like a full time traveler to become a full-time teacher or to just study full-time, and everything else you have on your to-do list. And I know for many people it might not be possible to just like quit your day job and go travel full-time if that is your dream, but there is definitely an opportunity here to perhaps find ways to adjust and change your everyday life and be more flexible so that you can have time to slowly get to the place where you're trying to go, to slowly follow your dreams. But yeah, like I think, you know, like with the new moon in the 6th house, you can also be exploring healing professions. You can also be exploring becoming a lawyer. You can be diving into dietitian, becoming nutrition, using technology for work more, using AI more. And there's just, I think, a little bit of tension between your perfect vision and what is possible. And so you need to adjust to that. Now, if you are a Libra rising, there's a new moon in your 5th house and a square to Uranus in the 8th. New moon in the 5th, Pluto in the 5th, right? Brand transformations, new beginnings related to pleasure, new beginnings related to love, new beginnings related to parenthood. Very much new moon here could be suggestive of getting pregnant or starting to try to get pregnant. It could be suggestive of new passions, new interests, right? Like something that serves the world, something that uses technology. The square to Uranus in the 8th house is a bit of a challenge, but it can also serve to illuminate the possibilities. So in terms of a challenge, right, the Uranus in the 8th house, it represents other people's resources, other people's finances, your partner's finances. So your partner loses their job, or you kind of lose some kind of source of income, right? If you've been collaborating with someone, maybe that collaboration ends. And so out of crisis comes certainty, and you figure out a new way of doing things, right? With a new moon in the 5th house, there might be an opportunity to now figure out what you want to do. Maybe some of your time has opened up with this partner withdrawing their partnership, and you can figure out or get closer to what truly makes you excited. If your partner loses their job or experiences some kind of financial change, there might be an opportunity to update your relationship, to figure out, you know, you may have to struggle with some kind of things related to children or some kind of responsibilities in a relationship, but hopefully you find a way to get through it with patience and dignity. And if it's a positive breakthrough with Uranus being in the 8th house, maybe your partner starts to make more money. Let's not forget, Jupiter is also there. So Jupiter could be bringing blessings instead of challenges. But I know somebody actually commented, I think quite a few of you were commenting on the video about Uranus stationing direct. And everyone's like, I'm so tired of actions in my 8th house. But I think you got to give 8th house a chance. Sometimes it might surprise you. So the positive development would be, like I said, a partner starting to make more money. And then new moon in the 5th house, you have space to do creative projects. You feel better about becoming a parent because they can support you now. And so new beginnings creatively and parenthoodly, new beginnings sprout from that newfound realization. And I think just overall with Uranus in the 8th house, changing dynamics around sharing, around give and take, trusting other people to support you, healing old wounds can inspire new beginnings in love, sex, and parenthood. Please let me know how this resonates down below. Now, if you are a beautiful and mysterious Scorpio rising, there's a new moon in your 4th house and a square to Uranus in the 7th. So we have very cardinal activation here. New moon in the 4th suggests new beginnings in home, family, and living situation. And the square to Uranus in the 7th could suggest that these new beginnings are coming out of surprises, breakdowns, and breakthroughs in your relationship, right? So very literal, a partner gets a house inherited and now you're moving in together. So there's new beginnings. There could be a more challenging situation where the partner maybe needs to move out of their home, and that puts you together and you're starting to live together. Uranus in the 7th could also be shaking the life of the partner up in terms of bringing them new opportunities. Like maybe they get a chance to work somewhere else and now your family is relocating to Dubai perhaps, and so there's new beginnings in the living situation there. Of course, Uranus can also be like a bit of a shaky situation, like a partner can be acting more out of character, or they can be acting a little bit detached, distant, revolutionary, rebellious. Like you can discover something, like you may discover something about them, or they might tell you that they want to take a break or something. And that's, like I said, that's the more challenging possibility here. The more, whatever happens, even if it's like a more challenging version of it, I think with the new moon in the 4th house, you are encouraged to find peace within yourself, to work on creating comfort and feeling secure within yourself, and to work on innovating your relationships. And perhaps there could be a chance here, if there is some kind of shaky dynamic in your relationship happening around this time, there is an invitation here to look at how this might mirror your early life and your childhood, and perhaps find ways to do things differently this time. And let me know how this resonates. Are you foreseeing any new beginnings in your living situation? Are you moving? Are you healing? Are you feeling Pluto in your 4th house already, or not yet? Now, if you are an adventurous Sagittarius rising, there's a new moon in your 3rd house and a square to Uranus in the 6th. So the square to Uranus in the 6th can create a surprise, a breakdown, or a breakthrough in your everyday life. Some kind of, roadblock, like a car breaks down, or your computer dies, or your, you run out of certain food that you used to eat all the time. I guess that's not too dramatic, but there is something, there is some kind of sudden development related to health. Someone might get sick, like catch a cold, and then that's affecting your schedule, that's affecting your routines, because the new moon in the 3rd house is asking you to innovate. It's asking you to change the way you do old things, to come up with a new schedule, to come up with a new structure to your life, to get rid of clutter on some level, to bring in an element of technology, meta, AI, new futuristic ideas into your everyday life. It could also suggest that maybe you use your experiences and start writing, start blogging, become a YouTuber. There could also be an invitation, if there's like a square to Uranus in the 6th house and it's some kind of frustrating situation at work or in your life, or something that requires you to adapt, the new moon in the 3rd could encourage you to take a course of study, or start writing, or, like I said, get a new car because your car just broke down. So you are approaching your life from like a unique perspective, and I think you're looking to be more innovative in your everyday life. And you may also be exploring new themes and new interests, and perhaps diving deeper into the topics that are exciting to you and that can, in a way, also improve your everyday life. And please let me know how this resonates down below. Next, we have the lovely Capricorn rising. If you're a Capricorn rising, there's a new moon in your 2nd house, and it's squaring Uranus in your 5th house. So the square to Uranus in the 5th could bring up some kind of breakthrough in terms of sex, in terms of love, in terms of parenthood and pleasure, creativity, passion projects. So that in turn affect your finances and values, right? Let's break it down, right? So if we're talking about sex and love, right? Uranus in the 5th house could bring a unique realization, an understanding that you want things a certain way, an understanding that you would like to try new things, you'd like to be open-minded. There might be a relationship surprise, something you find out about the partner and their interests and their preferences, their, fantasies, etc., that then encourages you to reevaluate what you hold dear with the new moon in the second house, and how willing you are to try new things, right? So it might encourage a perspective shift. Very literal example of Uranus squaring the new moon in the second house would be pregnancy, sudden pregnancy, and then the square, in the second house new moon is suggesting that your finances are changing. And now you are maybe going to be making big investments in moving to a new place or buying all the supplies you need to be a parent. So there's definitely some kind of new beginnings there. If we're talking about, creative projects and passion projects and also just overall things that bring you pleasure, with the new moon in the second house, you might be encouraged to rethink how you spend money and how you invest money, and find ways to sort of allocate your resources better so that there is also more creative freedom to pursue things, like I said, that you enjoy doing. Uranus in the fifth could also be like a surprising spending, like suddenly your child needs to see a dentist and you're paying for Anastasia out of pocket. So there might also be like some kind of sudden spending, sudden surprising development when it comes to your relationship, your child, your creative project, that then encourages a better strategy financially. And please let me know how this resonates down below. Next, we have a lovely Aquarius rising. This is really big, right? It's a new moon in your first house in a square to Uranus in the fourth house. The square to Uranus in the fourth is suggesting some kind of breakthroughs, breakdowns, surprises connected to your home, family, and living situation. And so, there might be an opportunity to move somewhere. There might be a challenge with your current living situation that is encouraging you to move. There might be some kind of breakthrough in the family dynamic, some kind of deep realization and healing of the old version of yourself that then in turn transpires into a new you. Because the new moon in the first house is very much about new beginnings in your identity. And these new beginnings can inspire you to change your look. They can inspire you to move. They can inspire you to change your work. They can inspire you to start using different pronouns or update your life somehow differently, right? And so the square to Uranus, I would just warn you that you're not acting out of just rebellion and trying to be different and going against, your family and just doing something reckless because you feel tired and you're just like over it. But if you are separating, if you are healing a childhood wound, if you are completing some kind of important chapter and finding more independence in your life, in your family life, this of course can be quite beautiful, I think, because it can bring a lot of like power and healing and self-awareness and even freedom and courage to pursue your dreams and to show the world a new you. And please let me know how this resonates down below. I even know an Aquarius rising who is currently dealing with a little bit of a frustrating living situation. So this could be like, part of it. I wonder if it's also like an invitation to stand up for what you believe and speak up and maybe disturb things a little bit, but ultimately start sort of feeling more secure with where you live and how you feel about people you live with. Next, the beautiful Pisces rising. There's a new moon in your 12th house and a square to Uranus in the 3rd house. So Uranus in the 3rd house could bring a breakdown, breakthrough, surprises in your everyday life, in your mental health, in your schedule, in your relationships. There could be some kind of conversation that is eye-opening, revealing, that then in turn calls you to explore things in your blind spot, because new moon in the 12th house will very much shine light on your blind spot and the things that you're not exploring, the topics you're not addressing. So if there is, if the new moon, if the Uranus square in the 3rd house brings up some kind of shocking revelation, you have a frustrating conversation, and the new moon in the 12th house could be an invitation to take a break, to heal, to talk to mental health specialist and to get sort of more realigned with your inner self. If it is about healing, you can also be coming to understand something about your passions, about your interests, about your hobbies, about things that, like I said, they're lurking in your blind spot and they're good for you, but you're not acknowledging them. So the new moon in the 12th could be like an invitation to become a healer. Square to Uranus in the 3rd, I would just be careful driving, be careful like getting in fights with people in a grocery store line. Watch out, watch out for like slamming computer into the wall. Like Uranus in the 3rd can also bring like some kind of like breakdown, nervous breakdown, some kind of fight on the subway, right? And then that like makes you realize, oh, I need to meditate, or like, oh, I need to do yoga, oh, I need to ground myself, right? So those are the more dangerous possibilities here. I would encourage you to try to take it easy right around the time of the new moon, to prioritize rest, meditation, and find ways to bring your spiritual passions into everyday life, and instead try to innovate through that versus innovate after you have gotten in a big fight. Let me know how this resonates. I hope you have a beautiful new moon, and I hope your February has been going well. I hope it's better or just as lovely as January if you had a great January, and I will talk to you very soon. Bye.